Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of Momentum. I'm your host, Big Les. Joining me as always, Jakey Marketo, former Dragon. Jake, how was your week, brother?
Mate, busy. Been very busy. I'm looking forward to chatting some footy and obviously a little bit of Origin also. It never seems to disappoint, does it, Origin time?
Yeah, no, it definitely does, and I'm very excited to get stuck straight into Origin. Obviously, this episode coming out a little bit later in the week, a little bit later than usually schedulally programmed. We obviously were waiting for the Origin sides to come out. We were waiting for the games to be done with the long weekend. So obviously that's why it's coming out a little bit later. But next week, back to regular programming. Monday, record for a Tuesday upload. Let's get stuck into the Origin teams, brother. For New South Wales, Tedesco's fullback, Brian Toto and Tolu Kula are on the wings. Casey McLean and Staggs in the centres. Moses Cleary halves. Haas, Barnett in the front row. Robson at 9. We've got Hudson Young and Dylan Lucas in the back row. Yowie is at 13. Murray, Radley, Fanua Blake, Api Coruscant, Ethan Strange, and Mark Nwanganitawaze on the bench with Stephen Crichton pulling out due to his injury.
Yeah.
HAUMOLE Kawatu, he's 20th man. Mate, out of all that, what sort of stands out to you the most?
Obviously, Ulukawatu being put back to jersey number 20. And this, I want to word this appropriately because anyone that wears an Origin jersey's obviously earned it. And Dylan Lucas is no exception to that. I think he's been outstanding for the last couple of years. I do, though, find it strange how you can take the informed back rower in the competition out of his specialist position as right back row and put, when he actually is available to play, and put him out of the team due to, I don't actually think he played too badly, to be honest, in Origin 1, and his club level form has been, the top of the pop. Dylan Lucas has come into the starting team, which I think he has earned, but I just cannot get my head around that switch. Now, the only reason I say that is because Ulukawatu's right edge specialist. Now we have Hudson Young, who's left edge, and Dylan Lucas, who are left edge players. Now, that may come in and play some sort of role, I think, because I've got no doubt Lucas being a left edge player now after playing on the right, it does have the ability to mess with your body mechanics, I suppose, at certain times of, in the game due to the fact how used you are to being on that preferred side. Not saying it's going to take away from his game. I just find it strange that Ulukawatu's been taken out of the team. Pretty much without going into too much depth around it, I think.
Mate, just throw this one to you. Let's take left side, right side out of it. Let's just say that Dylan Lucas is a right side specialist back rower.
Yeah.
Who are you more afraid of as a Queenslander, Dylan Lucas or HAUMOLE Kawatu?
Oh, it's Ulukawatu. He's a presence physically. Some of the bell ringers he's pulled off the last 2-3 years. They've been outstanding. And I don't want to take anything away from Dylan Lucas because he does deserve an Origin jersey. It just blows my mind that we as New South Wales have gone in and thought that was a really good decision in regards to the form back rower in the competition who's been virtually unstoppable at Manly, and that's like putting it lightly. Like he's breaking the first 1 or 2 tackles every time he carries the ball. I think the only thing I can sort of put it down to is Laurie's playing and wanting to play a different style of football, and Ulukawatu maybe doesn't fit that mould, and maybe it shows a little bit of weakness in the coaching style in New South Wales, not being able to understand actually how to use Ulukawatu. Like you would dedicate some time during that week to find out what he wants to do on the field. He's one of your strike players. He's probably in your top 3 strike players, in my opinion, in that team, even though the team's fully stacked. You get him going, it just creates so many more opportunities across the rugby league field with him. So I'd love to go into a lot more in depth in it because it's a really good talking point, but I'll sort of just leave it at that because I think it's a great opportunity for Dylan Lucas, but there's a lot of questions around the change.
We talk about him being the centerpiece of a team, and obviously you can throw a lot of attack through that way. Like if that was the argument for taking him out, considering you've got a lot of other strike weapons there, you've got a lot of other guys who can really own the side and be that centerpiece of attack, you could have thrown Liam Martin in there. Liam Martin's been in the Origin arena before. He won't take too much of that attacking sort of. You don't need to make him the centerpiece of the attack. He's really good at getting the ball to his outside. He's also really good at just playing a really simple game, running straight, running hard, and defending really well. So that was one that I was sort of shocked with. If you're going to start someone over Olakau'atu, like Liam Martin probably would have been the guy I would have thought would have come in. But it does look like has gone to Dylan Lucas. Just quickly before we jump off it, obviously being a back rower yourself, mate, in the NRL, have you ever had to make that adjustment going from right to left or left to right side back row? And just talk about the adjustment defensively that Dylan Lucas is going to have to sort of come up against on a rep level, going into the next couple of days before the game.
Yeah, I have had to do that before. It's a lot of it comes down to body mechanics as well. Like, particularly if you're a right edge player, usually your ball carrying hand most times is the outside carrying hand. So you're able to use a fend on the inside if you cut back in off your right leg, if you're used to stepping off your right leg, cutting back against the grain. Now, if you're used to stepping a certain way and you're going with the defender now, it actually helps the defense because it's running you out of room. There's all these little different body mechanics that come into play. Hitting and spinning, preferred passing side. Those are probably the biggest things that I found was a little bit challenging. But if you put your reps in during the week, you do get through that and can nullify it. But in saying that, I'm not a Olakau'atu. You know what I mean? Like he is the pinnacle of the back row stock at the moment. You know what I mean? It just as I lead back to it again, you can make changes and do those types of things. But if you've got the prime player in the position in the competition at your disposal, to not pick him is just going to raise a lot of questions.
Obviously, Moses comes back in for Ethan Strange, mate. This was the plan that they were going to go with for game one. It's funny, there's a lot of chat around the fact that Isaiah Katoa was actually the next man up over Ethan Strange if Moses was to go down, and Katoa was obviously in the concussion bubble, so he couldn't come into the side, hence Ethan Strange gets his opportunity. But you look at how that game went, and Ethan Strange was arguably the best player on the field for New South Wales. Is it the right call to take Strange out for Moses? Can you see both sides of having Moses in there?
Yes, I can. Mitch Moses is a class player. Ethan Strange did himself a whole heap of favours with how he did play game one. I think that would have been another tough conversation they would have had. Depending on Moses' fitness, it'll be interesting to see how he's pulling up with that calf injury, isn't it? Yeah. Like on a Saturday or Sunday, because they'll have a heavier load during the week. Obviously, they're going to do a bit of bonding and being on the drink and stuff like that. That affects your health. So it's going to be interesting if something happens again. I hope it doesn't, because Mitch Moses, I think, adds a different dimension to our attack than Ethan Strange, who's actually a very handy backup in that regards also. But I think having Moses in the team, it makes Queensland, I think, a little bit more aware in their defensive line due to the running threat and the long kicking game that he does possess also. It puts a lot of pressure on their back three when him and Nathan Cleary start hitting those spiral bombs.
Well, also, mate, you've just got someone that is going to play a little bit more footy down the short sides. Moses is a short side specialist, really good at getting the ball to his outside men, where Ethan Strange, his strength is his running game. And the big part of why he was so good in game one was because he ran the footy, he took chances. Now, Moses is a good runner of the footy as well. The thing with Moses is there is that balance there. Ethan Strange is very young. He's very raw. He would have come into that game, just look, I'm going to play my style of footy. I'm going to run first and I'm going to create opportunities off the back of that, where Moses, he's been in the Origin arena before. He's had a lot of reps under his belt in the NRL as well. And he just has that balance of when to run, when to pass, when to get the ball to the outside men. He can use his outside men better, create space for them a little bit better as well. So I can understand why Moses has come in from that regard. Listening to Laurie Daly as well, it sounds like they're still going to use Strange off the bench in a bit more of a roaming capacity, which I think is going to be super interesting. But it means that one of the middles won't play, because I'm imagining that Api Coruscant will still come into the game. I think Api Coruscant will still come on for Reece Robson. The question is, which one of the middles out of Radley, it won't be Murray, but Radley or Adam Fanua-Blake is going to miss out if an Ethan Strange comes into the game. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I remember him saying that, but things change during the game. It may be a very big tussle, and he may have to use those three middle forwards in Radley, Murray, and Big Adam Fanua-Blake and sort of make a decision, I suppose, during the game if you put Api Coruscant out there or Ethan Strange. Plus, you've got in your 18 and 19 positions now also the people that can come into the game if need be. You know, is that Katoa, and who's the other fellow that's playing there?
So Isaiah Katoa was brought into camp initially. He's not in
Yeah,
the 6-man bench. They've got
yep.
Ethan Strange at 18 and Mark Nwanganitawazi at 19.
There you go. So they cover him different spots on the park. You know, if a winger goes down, I'd expect Marky Mark to go straight into that. So, you know, things may chop and change as it goes through it. And I can see Laurie's thing with Mitchell Moses too, just to go back onto Mitch. We need to score points. We only had 6 points on the board until Ponga went off, obviously. So do you know what I mean? Mitch Moses has the ability to do the ball running as good as Ethan Strange, but I think Mitch Moses, if you're looking at a ball playing and a creator, that's where Moses is probably a bit superior to Ethan Strange due to experience of playing over 200 games in the NRL and a couple of Origin series. So I think Moses may bring 1 or 2 tries to our attack.
Yeah, 100%. As I was sort of alluding to before, just creating space on the edges. Whereas, you know, Ethan Strange is that run first sort of operator. Talk to me about the impact of having Payne Haas back in this side, mate. I'm very keen to see him have a crack, especially after the past 2 games he's had for Brisbane.
Mate, he is just he's in a very good purple patch at the moment. I loved a couple of weeks ago when he come back and played. I think he ran for 250 meters and he put his whole team on show. You know, he's ready to go. He sounds like he's in a very good mindset. It's something that we need. We needed him in game 1. I think we've missed his presence on the field. I actually do think him and Barnett as the 1-2 punch, the more I've looked at it, is a really good combination for our front row. I think you got Huss, who can obviously penetrate, go through, make his own space, find his front. And Barnett's got that really silky sort of skip out, can offload ball play if need be, where we've just got Huss, who's, you know, is a freak at just taking the ball, putting the ball under his arm and taking on the defensive line. And I'm looking forward to seeing him, Big Tino, face up in the Origin arena.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be really, really good. Talking about, I guess, the rotation, we'll obviously get it stuck into it a little bit more when we preview this game, but what's the minutes disparity you're sort of thinking for these middles? You know, Payne Haas, you'd imagine he takes up some decent chunk of these minutes. I think Barnett's probably going to play a little bit more of that Flegler role, the first 20 and the last 5. I think you'll see Adam Fanor-Blake chew up a couple minutes as well off the bench, play probably the back 50 odd and come off in the last 10. What are you thinking in regards to minutes, and how long do you think guys like Radley, do you think he'll get as much time through the middle as well? What are you thinking minutes wise?
I would be thinking getting Payne Haas out there for the first, and Barnett, the first 25 to 30, and then getting those smaller bodies out there to keep that momentum going into halftime, leg speed, a little bit more of ball playing. And I think that's where we can sort of go to a little bit more of a next level, having Victor Radley, Isaiah, or potentially keeping Payne Haas out there for the first 40 minutes as a bigger body out there with Radley and Murray out in the middle third of the field. And I think, you know, Payne will get to halftime, get his 10 minutes there. You can give him another 10 after it, give him a nice 10, 15-minute stint off the field, and then bring him home. Isaiah has the potential to play 80 minutes. So it's a bit of a luxury how they're going to use him. I'd probably be having my first interchange with Barnett and just allowing Huss to be out there as long as possible. He's only 2 games in. He had a couple weeks off, so I think he'd be feeling a little bit more fresher than what the other players are feeling. So I'd be using the big man a little bit longer than the others.
Casey McLean, mate, he's in there at centre for Stephen Crichton. Critter obviously rules himself out for Origin Game 2. I think he'll probably be out for Game 3 as well, pending the game McLean has. But talk to me about Casey McLean coming into this side, mate. What does he bring?
Mate, he brings a whole heap. He brings form. I think that's his biggest attribute at the moment. The way he's playing, he's in that top tier centres. He's the go-to man at the moment, obviously outside of Nathan Cleary at Penrith. They're looking for him all the time now. They're actually starting to get the ball to him as fast as they can off shape, just to allow him to have that sort of 10-metre gap with the opposing centre to see if he can beat him with footwork and set his winger up or cut back on the inside. He's a massive strike weapon, and you know, having him and Katoni Staggs either side of the field, it's a luxury for us.
Yeah, it 100% is just how good he is in the air, and all we saw from him in that last 20 minutes of Game 1 just goes to show what he can do, and then comes back for club, backs up, and scores 2 tries in the first half. Like, it's an absolute beast. Casey McLean, very excited to see how he goes in this one. Anything else that stands out for you for New South Wales in regards to ins and outs, mate? I think we touched on all of the changes, but anything else you want to sort of touch on there?
I think the big ins Payne Huss. It's like I know we didn't really get to go over it too much, but I think that's such a big in for us. I think we really missed his presence, as I said before, in game one, and I'm looking forward to seeing him punch out a solid effort. And I think if he's the best player on the field, and I know our team is stacked, and so is Queensland. If he's the best player on the field, New South Wales win the game. And I always go into Origin nervous because Queensland just have this uncanny ability to do things. But we actually did a Queensland on Queensland in game one, even though Ponga got sent off. It was a good feeling. So I think Huss will be primed ready for a big one.
Speaking of the dirty bastards, the Queenslanders, let's get to their team. KP, he's at fullback. We've got Selwyn Cobbo and Jojo Fafita on the wings. Toya and Tabuai Fido in the centres. Munster Walker halves. Flegler and Tino up front with Harry Grant at 9. Britt Nickera, he is the main change.
Yeah.
Comes in the starting back row with Kirk Capewell and Ruben Cotter is at 13. Max Plath is there at 14 with Lindsay Collins. Kula Kefu Finafuyaki joins the bench. Trent Liero. Reece Walsh in jersey 18. Murray Talangi jersey 19. And Helam Lukey joins the squad in jersey 20. Mate, there's been a couple of changes here to the rotation and I'm keen to get really deep into it with you. But I think the big one for me is Britt Nickera starting. Obviously, Paddy Carrigan's out. He's been ruled out for the series with injury, which is super unfortunate. Those syndesmosis injuries are an absolute punish, I know, from the best. But Britt Nickera coming in, it seemed like the game plan for Cotter and for Nickera was just protect Sam Walker, right? So you're getting some good defenders in there to sort of shield Sam Walker on that right edge where he's not so comfortable defending. And then Nickera can just sort of get to work as well, running those really nice lines. Minutes-wise, just rotation-wise, do you see Nickera probably playing the full 80 in this game compared to the last one?
I think he can push it out. I think it's actually a really good swap for their back row. Obviously, it sucks having Carrigan out, but I think Cotter's a 13 through and through, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him own that 13 jersey, probably for game 3 also, depending if he gets through the game without injury. I think he's a really, really strong person and player for them in that middle third of the field.
You've got that smaller body there at 13. You had Plath there in game 1. Obviously, Cotter there in game 2. Is there any noticeable difference that you're looking for from these guys in the way that they play? Anything that sort of stands out to you that you could see as a bit of a difference from what we saw from Plath in game 1 to what we will see from Cotter at 13 in game 2?
No, I think Plath will play a bit more of a. Obviously, he's going to be a smaller role coming off the bench, but I think they're going to use him in that sort of impact, come on, not play too many minutes and see if he can create a little bit of havoc. I do probably see him jumping in at 9 at some stage because he is a very creative player. Not sure if they'll give Harry Grant a break, but if he's on the field and Harry Grant does look like he needs a blow, because I think if you're New South Wales, you're sending a lot of traffic Harry's way and attempting to get him as tight as possible. And Plath could find himself in at 9 for a little bit of a stint, which I think will add a little bit of a string to their bow, having him there also.
There's 2 questions with Plath at 14 that I want to ask you. First off, speaking of Plath at 9, do you think he starts there, plays the first 20 minutes, and then they have Harry Grant coming off the bench for a bit more impact since they're not getting that punch from a Paddy Carrigan through the middle? Maybe they try and get it through Harry Grant coming on after 20 minutes around tied forwards and tearing the ruck to shreds, similar to what he did a couple of weeks ago for the Storm when he came off the bench after Origin.
It's a possibility. I don't see them making that change. I think Harry starting is going to benefit them more than Plath starting. I think if that were to happen, if Plath started and he were to cop an injury, I think it throws their rotation out of whack a little bit because obviously Cotter's in at 13. I'd probably see him changing with Cotter rather than Harry, but that can obviously happen also. But I see Harry Grant starting at 9 for Queensland.
Second question regarding Plath. Do you think moving Plath to the bench gives Billy the freedom where if the game's going a bit sideways and they need that spark, they don't use Plath. Instead, they use Reece Walsh through the middle of the field in that roaming role?
100%. Reece Walsh is playing the game. They're not having him in the squad to just sit him on the bench and wear number 18. It's going to be very interesting how he's used. I think he gets used. I'm putting this out there, and this is only my view, how I wish he gets used. I hope he's out in the field in the first half. I think if you can inject him into the game earlier rather than later and actually have him in the rotation, if you just put him on to take him off, I hope he's in the game in the first half and we get to see Reece Lightning, creating a bit of havoc for the Queenslanders.
They did only use Liero in the last 15 odd minutes. Is there a chance where both Pluth and Walsh are used, or do you think it's one or the other?
Yeah, no, I think they both can be used 100%. I think it comes down to the weather. I feel the weather plays a little bit of part in both teams' rotations going into this game, as I thought so for New South Wales, for the game in New South Wales and down in Melbourne again. And I think we will see some, yeah, as I'm saying, bit of left field. I think Reece Walsh, could come on in the first half because it all depends how the game's unfolding due to the weather and how it sort of the game takes shape.
Fina Fuiaki there on the bench. I sort of see him coming on through the middle. I don't think there's a chance he comes on the edge. I think Nikora Cape will probably go 80. So I think Fina Fuiaki, you're banking on the fact he's the post-contact meter man in the NRL at the moment. He leads the post-contact meters for the NRL at this stage. He comes on, his leg speed through the middle and just creates havoc. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a possibility of him also, I think, not even getting on the field. If they're going to use Reece Walsh, which you think they will, someone in that 14 to 17 obviously has to miss out. I think it potentially could be him. Again, I've got to reiterate, depending on how the game goes, you'd like to think he'd get out there to create that sort of ruck speed post-contact meters, and he has an offload. So there's all these different variations that'll come into play. So hopefully he's not the one that misses out for Reece Walsh because, as I've said again, I think he'll come on the field at some stage and someone between that 14 to 17 is going to be not out on the field. Maybe Liero.
Yeah, well, look, if I'm a New South Wales fan, I agree with you. It depends on how the game goes. If you need someone that's a little bit more settled, you'd probably go Liero. But if you want someone that's going to provide impact and have, the post-contact meters, the offload, as you're saying, and the leg speed, quick play the balls, just creating absolute havoc and going skits for about 20 minutes. I'm putting Kulakefa Finafuiaki on it. I'm probably, as a New South Welshman, more scared of Finafuiaki coming onto the field than I am of Liero coming onto the field. Is that fair?
I agree. I want to put something out there too, and we have a conversation around this. The person I'm most worried about is Cameron Munster. Now, I watched him play the other night against Newcastle. He doesn't give a fuck. Right, for him to do that, obviously the Origin teammates, it's all a bit of a show, but I think he did that on purpose to show his teammates we need to win this. Newcastle are flying, and I'm going to go and push my Origin teammate in the face and knock him over just to let everyone know that we're here to actually have a crack tonight and we want to win in Melbourne. He's the one I'm worried about because once he's in that sort of mode, he's the captain of Queensland, he's wearing the 6, he loves it. It's down in Melbourne. He's very comfortable down there. I think if New South Wales are to win, Huss has to come out of his player actually so much out of his skin for us to get up. But if Cameron Munster turns up and wants to play a 10 out of 10, I don't think we have the ability to stop him.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree. I think Munster's definitely the worrying one there in jersey 6. Had a great game, which we'll touch on, against Newcastle. Probably the game of the round, that one, just quietly. It was a really good contest. But yeah, look, those are your Origin sides, guys. Those are the changes for New South Wales and for Queensland. We'll preview the game next week and go a little bit deeper into how benches will be used and give you that nice, real deep analysis on this game. Let's get stuck into the news. There has been a bit happening in the NRL space. Biggest news is Kieran Foran obviously getting re-signed there for the Manly Seagulls. It is such great news for Manly. I feel like it takes a bit of pressure off them now as a footy side, the players, all the uncertainty from guys coming into the club as well as to if Foran's going to be the coach, who's going to be the coach, what the future looks like. That's all put to bed, and Manly can play their footy. And to be honest, mate, they are definitely a top 8 side contender this season under Kieran Foran.
100%, and for years to come. They every player that I've heard, they want him to be their coach. If they didn't re-sign him, they would have had no players want to play for him next year. That's the sort of effect he's had on the playing group. They want to play for him. And the attitude completely changed week 1 since he went in there. They went up and put 50 points on the Dolphins up in Redcliffe. So they've only gone from strength to strength. They would have been mad not to re-sign him, and I wish Kieran all the best. And I'm looking forward to watching how Manly grow and he grows as a coach over the coming years.
Mate, he is such a weapon. And I think just, we talked about it when he came in for Manly, right? Just simplifying everything for them, making everything nice and easy, getting the guys playing their best footy, recognising a guy like HAUMOLE or Kawatu and his talents. I'd argue if they kept Seabold in there from between the start of the season and Origin, I don't think Olukwatu gets picked for New South Wales. Like, I think Foz has had such an impact on a guy like HAUMOLE, just simplifying the footy from the guys around him and getting him quality ball. It's been night and day what we would have got maybe under Seabold as well over the next couple of weeks.
100%, totally agree with you. HAUMOLE grew an extra arm and a leg once Kieran got in there, and probably, yeah, as you said, simplified it, just spoke to the team. We're going to start using him. We'll get him the ball so he can fucking run and create, disruption in the defensive line for us, and we play off the back of it. And as you see now, he's starting to ball play. Not saying that he hasn't before, but he's now an attacking threat due to him being able to break, the first tackle easily, sometimes the second, creating an offload. But now he's going to the line, holding the defenders up and playing short or playing out the back. It's just, they're almost, going to score 15 metres out, either through him carrying the ball and creating an offload, or him now ball playing and keeping the defenders on their heels. So it's a very, very good thing for Manly.
Well, let's see what the future for Foz looks like. Obviously locked in until 2029, so they've locked him down for the next 3 seasons. Good stuff from Manly. What about Manly, other than Olakau'atu, what have you really enjoyed watching in Manly's footy where you think, gee, they are definitely a top 8 threat?
I like how Fogarty's gone in there and just continued to get better and better each week. Now, he come out and publicly spoke about his disappointment about Seabold getting sacked. He was very open about that. But it hasn't allowed him to affect the way he's leading the team and playing rugby league. Now, to me, that's a showing of an ultimate professional, because you're allowed to have your opinion and your say and your feelings towards something that's happened. But he's just gone out there, understood his role within the team as the number 7. Not saying that he wouldn't have done what he's doing, but he's just gone out there, and a lot of how they're going hasn't been spoken about due to the fact of how well he is playing, in my opinion. They look like they know where to get to every set, how the ball needs to finish at the end of the sets when they've got to kick. They're very organised, and he's taken real control of that team. And I think it's actually made Luke Brooks also look a lot more comfortable in the role he's playing.
Yeah, totally. And Luke Brooks is just playing a lot more of a running style of game as well, but also just, as you said, very comfortable in his footy. They're getting them to play their own games and recognising their own games there at the Manly Seagulls, and it's paying off 100%, playing some really good footy, and keen to see, as I said, what Foran can do over the next couple of seasons. Some more upsetting news, mate. Xavier Coates, who has worked very hard to get back for the Melbourne Storm, hopefully this year. Unfortunately, his season is over. He has torn his Achilles again at training, so he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. It's so devastating, and even for the Melbourne Storm as well. Like for Xavier Coates, it's tough. He's going to miss the entire season now. He's just got to put his focus on getting right for pre-season for the end of this year, start of next year. But for Melbourne, especially when they've got to have this massive run to get into the top 8. They've got to win 8 out of their next 10 games or something to be in the top 8. Xavier Coates would have been a massive help there. He's going to be a pretty big loss in their back line, not even just in attack and what he can do with the ball, aerial, scoring tries, but his defense. Some of his defensive plays the last couple of years have been a massive, just as big as his attacking plays as well. So talk to me about how big a loss Xavier Coates is going to be for the Storm.
Massive, coming out of yardage and an aerial threat. Just to add on top of what have you already said about him, and current Origin and Australian winger. So it's a big loss for them. I hope he gets through this injury okay, mentally and physically, and has a ripper 2027 season, because these injuries have the potential to change the way you actually play. It's one of those injuries where you got to learn how to walk again. You got to learn how to run again. You got to learn how to move and create your body mechanics back again with running, defending, jumping, all those types of things. So he's going to have a massive rehab. The best thing about it, he's not actually trying to push himself too hard now to get back. He has a full rest of the year off into a pre-season, building that strength back through his legs and his body. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can go next year with the Storm.
We're wishing him all the very best, Xavier Coates. Some positive news. Hasn't been fully confirmed yet, but Freddie Lussick, it sounds like he's signed a 2-year deal with the Bulldogs. It's pretty concrete, the male, so hopefully it does come off. But Freddie Lussick, really, really good signing for the Dogs. I feel like they have, since Reid Marnie from last year, they haven't had a 9 there. I think Bailey Hayward, as good as he is, he has come through the system all the way through as a 7. He was thrown into the utility role. He did an outstanding job there, but they've tried to shove him into the 9 and make it work, and it just hasn't worked, unfortunately. They need to get a good quality 9 there, and Freddie Lussick, he's a good quality 9. We've seen that with Penrith now in his stint while Mitch Kenny's been off, but not only that, you're not going to break the bank with a guy like Freddie Lussick either. So just talk to me about this signing and what your thoughts are.
Mate, the opportunity that he got given, he's taken with both hands. He's been playing unbelievable for Penrith. I know that system is flawless, but, when you're a player and you're coming into a new team, he wasn't at Penrith last year, was he? He was at Parramatta, was it?
No, he was at the Warriors. He's been
at the Warriors. So he was at the Warriors last year. So he's come into a new system. Obviously, Penrith have the highest of standards. He's risen to them, and it's obviously got him a 2-year deal outside of this year at the Bulldogs, who I think that's a really good buy for the way that they're trying to play, to be honest with you. As you said, I reckon he probably signed, if we have a number, 400-500 grand. So that's not at the top end of, what some hookers can generate in their pay packet. So he'll be a solid adding to their roster, and it probably relieves a little bit of pressure of Hayward moving forward, and he can sort of maybe go back to that 14 role and begin to establish himself more as that type of player, unless an opportunity comes up for him to go to a different team now, because we do see once a signing sort of happens, there is a little bit of a merry-go-round off the back of that.
Well, if you had to sort of put your foot on like the things that the Bulldogs have needed, since last year, it's been a really good 7, which they're working on with Lockie Gavin. And as we've sort of said on this podcast, he's definitely growing in that role, and he's been one of their best players since they've been in this sort of losing drought. And they need a good 9. I just feel like as good as Bailey Hayward is, he's not a hooker as good as Kurt Mann is. I don't think, he's going to be what they need long-term as that makeshift 9 as well. And he's sort of getting into the prime of his career as well. So they do need an actual 9. So heading into next year, if they can really get Thompson and King to work, they can get a ton of momentum in their sets. Tupanua's been outstanding. Harry Hayes, we'll get a couple guys back from injury as well, Kikau. If they can get things working and get things on a roll, and then plus you can get, whether it's molding Galvin into a 7, whether it's this young kid in reserve grade, Alex Conti. I'm not sure if you kept up with the New South Wales Cup over the weekend, but the Dogs put a number on Parramatta, and it was off the back of the performance from their young number 7. All the talk's been around Mitch Woods. Alex Conti, mate, he's going to be very close to jagging a spot in that role. But where I'm going with this, if they can put all the right pieces together, then they'll certainly be back in that top 8, top 4 sort of conversation, in my opinion, going into next year. What are your thoughts?
100%. Their roster's deep, and when they're all fit and healthy, it's a top 4 roster. There looks like there's going to be a little bit of a logjam within the halves now, because I remember the Woods name. Conti is sort of new to me. I heard he is a bit of a gun. It's all depending, I suppose. Lachlan Gavin's 20. I'm assuming these guys are late teens, 20 years of ages also.
Yeah, Conti's just turned 20, and Mitch Woods, I think he's 21. He's mine,
okay,
I'm pretty sure.
So I'm going to take a wild guess here. Matt Byrne will stay at 6. I think the playing managers now will have to have a conversation with the Bulldogs, because if you've got those types of number 7s underneath your current playing number 7s, one of them's going to look for an opportunity at some other club because they want to be playing first grade. And if they're good enough and consistent enough, they've earned the right to go and do that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the Bulldogs with that dilemma that could possibly arise for them.
You know what's funny? Like I watched Mitch Woods throughout the preseason. I did a couple of reactions on my podcast looking at a couple of different young players coming through. And you're right, Alex Conti didn't even hit my radar until this year when he was playing some really, really good footy. He only just turned 20 over the weekend. But watching Mitch Woods, for me in the NRL level, I think he's going to be more of a 6. Galvin, a lot. I mean, I think he'd excel more of a 6 than as a 7. Because I don't want him pulling his game back. So out of the 3, the only genuine 7, in my opinion, is probably Alex Conti. Which is going to be a really interesting conversation, especially with Burton. His contract's up for discussion as well, where he's going to be ending up over the next couple of seasons. then obviously these three halves, as you said, mate, it is going to be a bit of a logjam. So how they sort of navigate the next 12 to 18 months is going to
Yeah.
be super interesting.
And two, there's usually when a club comes out and says we want this guy to stay, it gets done. Burton's thing's sort of been spinning, hasn't it? And there's a lot of rumours that the Bears are there waiting for him. I think that could also happen depending on if they want to keep this young flock of halves together. So I've got what would Burton be on $800,000 or $900,000 there?
At the Bulldogs,
Yeah, or is he $1 million player there for them?
I'm not too sure actually, because
He'd be up in that top tier. He'd be anywhere between 8 to $1 million. Would you agree?
it's funny because he signed from Penrith,
Yeah.
and at that stage he was playing centre for Penrith.
Center, yeah.
I'm not too sure if he's actually on a huge number. I think it's more so he's going to be upgraded to a big number because he's played Origin in that time. You got to remember as well. And
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. They're going to have to do some juggling. It's going to be interesting to see how they go. And in saying that, it's an opportunity possibly at the Bears for one of those young blokes to go over there, or PNG also coming in the competition. So who knows what happens?
If you're the Bears, how much are you paying? How much are you offering Burton right now to get it done?
Well, it depends what he's on. You know, like if he's on, let's say he's on 800, it's going to cost him $1 million to get him over there. And they're going to have to sign him for 4 years to make it enticing because that's an extra 800 over the deal that he's already on. Like, you know what I mean? He's that type of player that they're going to have to pay some sort of number that's probably a little bit above market for him to get him over the other side of Australia. In saying that, if he does become available, you'd think a couple of the teams on this side of Australia are going to want to put their number into the pie also.
I think you're going to have to pay him over $1 million regardless of what he's on now. You're looking at the player that he is and what he's done. He's played Origin. He's played for Australia, I'm pretty sure. I think he's had one game for Australia. So all of that's going to come into account. I think he's going to be over $1 million. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months with that situation, but there's certainly a bit of a juggling act there for the Doggies. Let's get stuck into the round review, mate. Touching on the first game, which I don't want to talk about for too long because my bunnies got dusted in that second half, but 28-14. We talked about Manly quite a bit, obviously, playing some really good footy. It wasn't the greatest of first halves from either side, I will say. And obviously, you know, Clayton Failalo, he got sent to the bin and then had to come on the field. What were your thoughts on this game as a whole? And just talk to me about some key guys that stood out for you.
I actually thought the Bunnies were right into the game. It just seems like the second half Manly appeared to come out with an extra gear and stayed in their plan a little bit longer than what the Bunnies did. I think the Bunnies made one or two errors in some crucial parts of the field also, which sort of threw them out. But, you know, in saying that, the Bunnies are missing some big-name players. I can't count them out for not making the finals because once they get those players back on the field, anything can happen for that team once those guys are back in there. Latrell Mitchell, obviously, just to put a name out there. So I wouldn't – it'd be disappointing because there are – playing inconsistent footy at the moment, but people being injured doesn't really help that for them either.
Well, Campbell Graham, speaking of injuries, he picked up an injury throughout this game and played through it, but he's going to be out for a month now as well.
Oh, shit.
Which is just so...
Yeah. He can't take a trick, that poor bastard.
He's been through the absolute ringer, Campbell Graham, so wishing him all the very best. Look, I thought that, speaking about the Bunnies, I thought that Ashton Ward, like there's some really positive signs there. It just seems that, you know, he is the smaller guy. You need a solid defensive back rower next to him just to sort of guard him. And I think Tallis Duncan's done that role quite well. 49 tackles Tallis Duncan had to make in this one. But just talk to me about Ashton Ward and, you know, what you're liking from his game at the moment.
I think he's still learning. But I think he's learning very fast. So it's good to watch him get out there and have a crack. And you can't, mate, he competes. That's the biggest thing. I think that's probably got him to where he is and playing as much first grade as he is at this moment in time. Is even though he's small in stature, he's got a heart of a lion. And that's something that Wayne loves. And it's really good to see him get out there and have a crack. And he's only going to be better for the run because Cody Walker's probably got this season and maybe another one in him after this. So you're looking to see someone who's probably going to step into that role in the halves as it moves forward. And there's no better way to learn than with Cody Walker out there, obviously helping you alongside you as well.
Yeah, 100%. Jai Gray had an absolute dig, 17 runs for 168 run meters. I couldn't really fault his performance in this one. Had a couple of errors,
Yep.
but I thought that he still put in a real hard knock, and those post-contact meters came through him as well, a lot of them off the play 2 carries.
Yeah, he's a massive goer. He just plays so consistent. I don't think I've seen him play a bad game. So it's good to see him back out on the field because he was injured for 1 or 2 weeks and there was a little bit of controversy. He got dropped to the bench for one game and Matty Duffy ended up getting his spot for an extra week. So
Yeah, it was
it's good to see him.
it was just because
Yeah.
of the joint injury. I think they just rested Jaiza.
Okay, got you. So it's good to see him back out there, and he's a massive key for the Rabbitohs having a strong back end of the season.
Totally. HAUMOLE Olakau'atu, mate, I think he just tore us to shreds.
Yep.
Him going up against Dave Fafita, unfortunately, was a little bit of a mismatch there. HAUMOLE obviously playing a lot more footy during the period. You know, it was Dave Fafita's first game back after a little stint there. HAUMOLE, 24 runs, 266 run meters, 140 post-contact meters, try assist, line break assist, 5 tackle bus, 23 tackles, only 1 missed. Absolute animal, HAUMOLE Olakau'atu.
Yeah, mate. As we spoke, he come out of Origin. The big thing is that they all talk about is going back and representing your club to the best of your ability, and it's a bit of a badge and honour to go and carve up after playing during the week for your club. And he turned up. David Fafita looked good, I thought, for his first game back, and I think he's going to get better and better. He's still destructive, isn't he, when they just get him the ball early? So I hope he can really get that combination going on that edge again with what they had before, obviously the injury. But as go back to Olakau'atu, he's just almost untouchable at the moment.
Yeah, he is. He's playing some good footy, and I tell you what, it's going to be scary for whoever Manly are going up against after this weekend, because not being picked for Origin, that's going to be lighting a fire under his belly for sure to want to get back into that jersey as quick as possible. And
He could potentially kill someone.
Yeah. Let's put that out into the universe. That's Melbourne Storm, mate. They only just get the job done over the Newcastle Knights. Josh King, I tell you what, had a lot of Melbourne Storm fans with their hearts on their chest. Obviously with that knock on late in the game, nearly cost them. But mate, a really good game from both teams. It's not from the middle point of view, you couldn't really pinpoint who was the alpha dog just looking at the stats, because I feel like every single middle in this game just had a crack, was going after it. It was a really tough and physical game. Both sides were in it. While Melbourne had the completion rate locked up at 90%, even a Knight side that completed at 70 still was competing really hard with this Storm side, and obviously only just lost by 2 points. So for me, I think I can take a lot out of this game, more so from the Newcastle Knights going, geez, well, if they're completing at 70% and can put 30 points on and only lose by 2 points, then I think that they're definitely a threat in this competition. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think Newcastle look back at this game and understand it was one that got away from them. They were, in my opinion, they look like the better team on the night. It's just Melbourne, 90% to 70% is a big difference. And I think from memory watching the game, there was a couple of errors. Even Dylan Lucas, I think, made 1 or 2 errors sort of back to back, which gave Melbourne a little bit of momentum sort of midway through that second half, where they were able to build some consistency. But they come home with the wet sail, Newcastle, and it was a very tight game. It's probably the game of the round, in my opinion. I thought it was refereed really well too. I think there was a lot of flow allowed in the game. Obviously, two great teams going at it. So it was a really good game of footy to watch.
Yeah, it was. I definitely thought it was the game of the round for sure. Talking about Newcastle, I feel like they had a tough night just under the high ball. Dom Young and Marju had a couple of errors there. Marju had a bit of a tough night just in general, I thought. And I think like with Fletcher Hunt, because he's a rookie, really a centre, like not knowing how to get the ball out to Marju, just reading those 2-on-1s and stuff like that. That's going to come with Fletcher Hunt as he plays a bit more centre. But look, I thought for positives, I thought Dane Gagai was an absolute animal. 8 plus, just an absolute freak there, really tearing the Melbourne Storm to shreds on that right edge.
Yeah, he put a bit of a clinic on it at certain parts of the game on that right edge. Dane Gagai was it was great to see. Actually did the jersey swap with Munster at the end of the game too, which I thought was good because they were at each other pretty much the whole game, especially when Munster pushed Ponga over. Gags was the first one in there, giving a couple pushes in the face. I thought Hunt is doing really well in the position that he's in. He's obviously not a known centre, but I think just due to the fact that he's a big body, he's really good out of yardage. I've been watching him get the ball, and he is one of those players, as you said, he doesn't really get the opportunity or understand the opportunity yet to set Marju up as many times as I think he can. He's more of a run first centre with the position he's playing, but I also think that's possibly coming from he's a known fullback, isn't he? Obviously Ponga's there, so he's got a mortgage on that jumper, that bloke. So he's not going to be getting a crack at fullback unless Ponga's out. But I think he's filling a really good gap for Newcastle in the centres, and I think he may stay there for a little bit longer because he adds value. He's strong defensively, I thought, and he's still learning the position. So he may be able to lock down that centre position moving forward due to obviously Kalen Ponga playing fullback.
Well, they've got Bradman Best coming back over the next couple of weeks, so I don't know if he'll lock it down.
Oh yeah, he does too.
Besty's coming back pretty soon, but yeah, Fletcher Hunt, he's really good cover to have, especially getting more experience playing in different backline posisions. It's only going to do him the world of good. He had that really good game against the Roosters.
Yeah.
Scored 2 tries off kicks. So definitely a good player, and there's definitely a lot of talent about him. And even when he covered at fullback a couple of weeks ago,
Very strong.
He was very good. Even though there was a couple of errors in his game and he's still very raw, you can definitely say that there's a lot of talent there with Fletcher Hunt. So definitely one to earmark for the next couple of seasons as their depth piece for them, and hopefully he gets an opportunity elsewhere. Mate, they're the spine players. Ponga, Sharp, Brown. I thought they were all outstanding in this game. Brown in particular, thought he had some really nice touches, defended very well, and kicked well as well, which is not usually the biggest known part of Dill Brown's game. What were your thoughts on the big three there?
Yeah, Brown looks like he's really leaning into the role that sort of Newcastle want him to play. He's obviously there for the next decade, so he's going to get better and better as it goes on. And I've got my foot in my mouth because I didn't really think Fletcher Sharp would be doing what he's doing. He's obviously a great individual player with a lot of assets, but he's becoming an absolute threat in the number 6 jersey. So I've put my hand up. I think I've got that wrong. I think Newcastle, the way that they're playing, has caught me off guard with Ponga actually getting the ball way more than I expected, which relieves Sharp of probably a lot of ball playing, which I thought he was going to do. And he's more of that sort of getting the ball second pass from the halves, as in Brown and Ponga. So Sharp's come into his own also, and it's going to be good to watch those three play together for the next at least 3 or 4 seasons, isn't it? They're all there till at least 2030.
Yep.
That's a great looking spine for them.
I am just trying to look for receipts because I just want to see how many touches Ponga had. If you had to guess how many runs Ponga had without looking at the stats, how many runs you'd say he had in this game?
Is this just like getting the ball, even like carrying the ball back from a kick, like just touching the ball and running?
Yeah, just running the ball.
Okay. They'd have to be around 30 or 40, surely.
Yeah, 27 runs. It's still an absolute knock. 27 runs, 248 of the best.
Yeah, okay. So he's got the ball a fair bit. It's but that's what he does. Like, it's when Newcastle are flying, obviously he's a major part in it, but like when rugby league as in general is at it's when our top players are playing, and Ponga's in that top echelon, and you can't not watch him when he's out on the field, mate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a bit of a freak, Kalen Ponga. Mate, that spine, the way that they're playing, Ponga in that first receiver role, I think they're a top 4 side this year. I think that they are going to be a sneaky little premiership contender as well. I just think the more they play this year, and a guy that I really like, which I didn't think too hard on. I didn't think he was going to get a lot of minutes with Sandon Smith there, but obviously Sandon Smith is injured, and Crossland obviously got injured in this game.
Crossland, the poor bastard, he got knocked fucking out, didn't he?
In the opening couple minutes too.
Yeah, I remember that.
But Harrison Graham, mate, I've really enjoyed the footy that he's played off the bench. I think that he's going to be the centerpiece for them, and I'd even look at moving forward, just integrating him a little bit more as that main 9. You get Crossland to take the first 20 minutes out, and then I'll almost play Harrison Graham for the back 60 once he gets the minutes and the fitness under his belt. Because him as a 9, he's an absolute problem when he runs the ball and attacks the game.
It is. He's got an opportunity and he's taken it with both hands. Mate, Crossland's a great player too. It was very unfortunate what happened to him. I think that actually might have stunted Newcastle's, I suppose, attacking prowess in that game, having Crossland on there. I think he holds a lot of value in that number 9 jersey, and I think it rocked him a little bit, obviously seeing their mate get heavily concussed. It was not a good look. Poor bugger. I hope he's okay for the next couple of weeks. But going back to who you were talking about in Graham, taking his opportunity, probably will start this weekend if Newcastle playing.
Newcastle.
I haven't had a chance to look at the round.
Yeah, Newcastle are not playing this week.
Okay, so he's missed the opportunity to probably play this week with Crossland out with concussion.
But look, regardless, Harrison Graham, I think he's going to be there 14 for the rest of the year. I think potentially Sandon Smith might be the unlucky one. That's not to say that Sandon Smith isn't a great player, and we know what he can do at his absolute Sandon Smith, and he's great halves cover, but I just think you're looking at Harrison Graham, he's the out-and-out 9, and I think he's the 9 of the future, so I'd be backing him in jersey 14 and letting him have that role for the rest of the year unless there's injuries. We talked about the Storm already, mate. You touched on Cameron Munster before when we were talking about Origin. I want to give another shout-out to Cooper Clark because he's in the New South Wales squad as well. He's been brought into camp, Cooper Clark, so really good to see. But, mate, he's killing it at the moment.
Mate, what a player they've got there. What an unbelievable player. I'm looking forward to see what kind of player he turns into because he's just gotten better and better as a young man going through the season. And a lot of adversity. Melbourne probably haven't gone through this type of roster adversity in a long time, if ever. He's got thrown straight in the deep end. They are a great club and obviously they are still rising. But it's a bit of a initiation through fire for him through Melbourne at the moment. And he's risen to the occasion.
Yeah, he's playing some great footy, and it doesn't matter whether he's on the edge or whether he's in the middle. He just gives it 110%, and he's a little bit of an animal there. No missed tackles, 121 run meters. Really took this game by the scruff of the neck and had a good one. I thought Failongo was outstanding as well at the back there. Really good game from Failongo. Just in regards to his spacing and timing, I feel like he's growing in that sort of thing where, look, I thought he was a bit erratic at the start of the year, and when it came to sort of finding his spacing in attack and, when they're spreading the ball in those arrow sets, he found that a little bit challenging to get in the right spots and defensively and his communication a little bit as well. But I feel like you can sort of start to see as you watch him a little bit more closely week to week, he is growing in those areas and he will for the rest of the season and moving forward too.
It looks like they've not that saying that they weren't going to, but it looks like they've dedicated a lot of time and put a lot of coaching into him. I do back up what you say. I always thought he was going to be their game breaker for him. It was just how consistently and how probably appropriate he could play off the back of their shape. And he was erratic at times, but it looks like he's really finding his groove and making a lot of mature decisions with Munster and Hughes guiding him around the field also.
Look, before we get stuck into the next game, brought up Cooper Clark already, but the 3 guys that got brought into camp for New South Wales, because we generally do bring a couple guys into camp, for this game, Cooper Clark was one, Fletcher Sharp was the other, and your mate, Ryan Couchman, he's in camp as well.
Unreal.
So it'd be good for those guys to get a couple of experience. I think both Couchman boys, they are going to be Origin players of the future, aren't they?
That, mate, they've got no ceiling at the moment. They're same as Cooper. They're learning through fire at the moment at the Dragons, who, aren't going as good as, a lot of us as fans would like them to be going. But it's only going to make us better for 2027 plus the teams coming in. But Couchy getting in there is going to gain a whole heap of experience, and I'm looking forward now to seeing how he's going to finish the rest of the year.
100%. The Roosters giving the Raiders a donut here, 26-0. To be honest, mate, like I had to watch this game back because I was at work while it was on. But the Raiders were actually really good in that first half. The Raiders attacked really well in that first half. I just find it really hard to believe that they didn't put any points on. What did you put it down to for the Raiders in this one, and why didn't they score any points?
I think it's just the Raiders season. It just hasn't clicked for them. Like, I've actually been watching them play. Not nothing, but a lot of things just aren't going their way. Like, it's at times I'm sort of like, this team could do what the Roosters did to them. They could do that to any team in the competition, but it just doesn't look like at times they're not playing as well as what they could. And I don't actually know why, because they've got such a good roster and they've got a lot of things figured out across the board. It's just not sticking for them. And, the Roosters going down to Canberra, that's a hard fucking game, man. Like, it's down there's a graveyard, and they went down there and held them to 0. Like, I think the Raiders are in a bit of trouble, and I think a lot of soul searching would be going through their camp this week after getting held to 0 at home.
Yeah, 100%. they are obviously playing this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see their team list and what that's looking like for them. But certainly a tough afternoon. Not scoring any points. Like, Hosking, I thought played well. I thought that both back rowers, Young and Hosking, had actually had really good games, and they were getting the ascendancy through the middle. It was just a little, maybe it is that inexperience starting to poke its face there in jersey 7.
Yep.
I think that was something we've spoken about all year with the Raiders when they have lost. It's just been, you can't really take it too harshly because they've got a young number 7 there that previously before this year had only played 3 games of NRL. So
yeah,
it is just about taking his time. The young Colonel.
Just on that too, sorry to cut you off. I think that's great by Ricky sticking with him. I think the lessons he's learning right now is going to be invaluable for the Raiders in the next 3 to 4 seasons. And we all tend to forget, he actually won in the game in Manly. Was it round 1 or round 2?
Round 1, yeah.
And Manly come out and scored off in the first set of 6. So he got him back into it along with with the team. But he has the ability to do that, as he's already shown. So I think what's happening at the moment is only going to make him a better player and the Canberra Raiders a stronger club moving forward into the future.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I agree with you. I think it's really good they're sticking by him. He's a great player. They have got the young guy from the Broncos, Kobe Black, in reserve grade. He is playing some good footy down there as well. So that is going to be a very interesting watch, I guess, what happens there over the next couple of weeks and if there is a change. I agree with you, though. I'd be keeping Ethan Sanders in there because I think I've seen enough for him where I think he can be the guy for them for sure.
100%.
Mate, Roosters, it was probably DCE and Sam Walker's best game as a pairing. I thought that they were very good. I thought that Toya obviously did a great job in setting up his outside man in Mark, who had a blinder. Talk to me about the Roosters. What did you enjoy most out of watching the Roosters in this game?
They're figuring it out. Remember, we were all sort of, will it work, will it won't work? And I sort of just put out to the airwaves, like, mate, they'll figure it out. Reece Robson wasn't in the team, for starters, when it was going a little bit side to side and haywire. It's a new halves combination. They're trying to figure it out, and Tedesco's out the fullback, and we all know what Teddy is to that rugby league team. Once Robson came back in, you could see it change for him. And the 6 and 7, they're trying to figure out what potentially halves pairing get to do over 2, 3, 4 seasons. They're trying to jam pack it in, let's say 16 rounds perfectly to get themselves ready for the back end of the year straight into footy because they want to win a comp. DCE was bought for them to win a comp. So they're trying to jam pack 3 or 4 seasons of learning into one. And they're starting to do it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they can end up doing by season's end going into the finals as they're sitting 3rd at the moment. And I don't even reckon they've hit their peak yet. I think they're still rising. Angus Crichton is in some. He's in origin form. He just hasn't been picked. Angus Crichton's been really strong for them. He's a bit of a go-to guy for him. Marky Mark's been scintillating. Walker and Toya have got that combination where he's sweeping down or playing down short sides and putting that early kick in or a nice flat pass. DCE just looks like he's very comfortable and roaming in that sort of middle part of the field. So it's good, mate. The Roosters look good, man. I'm not saying that the Raiders didn't turn up to play because I'm assuming no one doesn't do that and playing at home, but they just tore them apart.
Roosters have been good. They've also been, poor defensively, and it's been quite inconsistent.
Errors too, yeah.
I just want to see them sort of put it all together. And as you said, it's going to take time. We said that
they're rising.
Yep. They are rising, though, as you said. The combo's working. If they can really get that down pat and everything else starts to fall into place, mate, they've had the roster for a couple of years now to be a side that wins the comp. Whether it be this year or whether it be next year. Keen to see that sort of come into fruition. Cows and Finns, mate. The Finns put a number on the Cows. I said this on the podcast as well. I know that you weren't on last week, but I did say that the Dolphins could put a number on the Cows if they wanted to. 40 points to 14 in this one. The edge defense of the Cowboys. How good Herbie and Jack Bostock have been going the last couple of weeks. Talk to me about the Dolphins, what you're enjoying out of their footy at the moment.
They have 40 points in them a game. The amount of speed they have and the way their outside backs are playing, obviously Katoa at 7, Flegler's in form. My man Tommy Gilbert looks like he's really starting to hit some red hot form. He's being very aggressive coming off the bench, which is setting a tone, I think, and carrying momentum into the back end of the halves for them and when he's out on the field. Plus, obviously, an Origin player now. And the big one for me, Marshall King. Ever since he's come back into that 9 role or been involved on the field, they've looked like a different team.
He's very crafty, isn't he? Marshall
Yeah.
ended up starting in this game with Plath and Donahue coming off the bench. Mate, Donahue's the one I want to talk about now. Obviously, Bostock, Herbie, Cobbo had an absolute blinder. There's plenty to talk about, mate. There's plenty to talk about in this side, but for me, Donahue has been a shining light for them off the bench. The way that he plays, how square he is coming onto the field, he's almost like a second number 7 with his tempo as well. He's sort of playing a similar sort of tempo and shape as Katoa does into the line, where he sort of stops and starts and really creates space on either edge, whether it be going towards Nicarima or whether it be going back to Katoa on the right side if they're setting up shape that way. He seems to be the perfect link man for them. I think he's going to be their future number 6 when Nicarima decides to leave or obviously retire. I think that Donahue's the man. For me, I had a real deep think about it, and the Levels boys were talking about it on their Thursday show last week, and I completely agree. Mate, Donahue would be the perfect 14 for the Blues.
Mate, I agree with that. 100% agree with that. It's funny you say that. I'm looking at Donahue when he's playing. He looks like Kurt Mann at the Bulldogs 2-3 seasons ago. He fits that role so perfectly. And, he does have the potential to play 6 when Cody Nicarima goes, no doubt at all. He, at this moment, though, in the role that he's playing, suits him to an absolute T. And within that structure that the Dolphins are playing, because it looks to me as the Dolphins are using every single space on the field, right? They've got Finiaki on one edge. They're going to him a lot. Then you've got Hamiso out the Tabai Fidel out the back. You got the Hammer out the back. Herbie's coming across, skipping, breaking tackles, creating offloads. My man Cobbo, probably the best season he's had since he played for Australia. Like they're all starting to find their role. They're all together for the next couple of seasons also. And I think when Marshall King gets back to full fitness, it still looks like he's finding his feet and hobbling a little bit, and his leg is heavily strapped. But I think if they can all remain fit and staying on the field, Flegler's a big one too for him. Francis Molo, like I'm just rattling names off the top of my head now. It's all there for them, and if they really can get themselves fully fit and raring to go, they're a threat, man. They're definitely a premiership threat.
All right, let's do this. I want to play a bit of a game with you. I'm going to get the ladder up.
Yep.
We're going to go through the top 14 teams.
Oh, jeez.
I want you to tell me which ones can win the comp. You ready?
Oof, go.
Penrith.
Yes.
Warriors.
No.
Oh, we said yes last week.
Did I? I wasn't on last week.
Oh, yeah, you weren't. No, the week before when you were on before, we said that.
Well, I'm talking like definites.
All right.
Were we talking about definites?
Yeah.
Like that? I think that, yeah, keep going. Sorry, yeah.
All good, all good. Roosters.
Yes.
Manly.
No.
Dolphins.
Yes.
Sharks.
No.
Knights.
Yes.
Rabbitohs.
Oh. If they have all their best players on the field and they're, yes.
Cowboys.
No.
Tigers.
No. Not now.
Yeah. Storm.
No.
Broncos.
Oh. I can't write them off yet. They have the potential to, yes.
All right, I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mate, it's
Did I say yes to the Warriors?
We did. We remember we were talking about Tamari Martin in there. We were talking about like it didn't really.
Oh, they could still win it. Yeah. No, you are right. They can, but I say yes in regards to they have the potential to, but I see those other teams
ahead.
Like yeah.
Yeah, I agree. If you
Tuivasa Sheks are massive out for them too. I've got that in the back of my mind.
I'll say this: my grand final right now, pending the draw, is probably Dolphins Penrith.
Yeah, the Panthers. It's whoever's going to verse the Panthers.
Well,
that'd be actually a really good game of footy in a grand final.
What's like if you had to pick a grand final right now? Are you the same?
If I had to pick right now, Yeah, or I like the Knights too. Like I really like the Knights, man. Like I think they've got a lot of like I like my favorite teams at the moment is the Dolphins, the Knights. I was on the Tigers. They just got smoked though, which we'll talk about very shortly. And when the Rabbitohs are full strength, oof. But yeah, the Panthers. It's whoever's going to verse the Panthers, man.
Yeah, 100%. Broncos and the Gold Coast Titans. The Titans get this one done late.
Yep.
Couple of question marks around the Broncos, obviously, but I'm so happy for the Titans. Like, this is such a good win for them. Versing Brisbane, it's almost like their grand final a little bit throughout the season
Yep.
with limited success, and I'm so happy that they were able to get this one done. A couple of really good performances throughout this game as well. What were your thoughts on the Titans?
Mate, they hung in there and they got away with it. I thought Brisbane were going to run away with it once or twice in the game. They're just turning a lot of cheap ball over Brisbane at the moment, and they're not defending their errors. And it's that's why they're sitting. I think it's 13th at the moment on the ladder. Can they swing it around? 100%. They've got all the strike power in the world to be able to. I still think they have, as I just said, they've got the potential to still win the comp if their players can remain healthy and hit that form. But I think this is a good confidence builder for Gold Coast. They obviously turned up, knocking Brisbane off in Suncorp, and hopefully they can continue to learn and build some momentum. And who knows where they can finish, up the ladder a little bit higher and build themselves into a spot maybe around the back end of the 8. You never know.
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure about the Gold Coast Titans. They're towards the bottom end of the ladder at the moment. I think that there's definitely success coming, especially if they can keep this spine together. This is the formula. By at 13, Pascoe at 9, Harrison Campbell in the halves, and Kinney at fullback. That's the formula. Rumours still circulating about Brimson's future. He was obviously linked to the Dogs a couple of weeks ago. Not too sure what's happening there. He's obviously locked up till 2030, but there might be an early release on the cards. Talking about the Titans though, mate, I love, like, a lot of people are going to talk about Kinney's moment at the end of the game, the chip and chase.
Yep.
But Jaden Campbell probably had the best second half.
Yep. I was going to say
2 tries, 108 meters. What an absolute beast.
Campbell's the key for them, man. Like, Tino's the key for them, but Campbell's right behind him in regards to them winning games. Tino will lay the platform for you. It's Campbell's just come on in leaps and bounds. Kinney's unbelievable. He's got a lot of fire lungo in him. He's a major attacking weapon for him, and it's great to see those guys playing together. And I just want to put this out there. I really hope Brimson stays there. Like I know there's a difference. There's an understanding of playing a position you want to play. But for him to stay there and play in the centres as Gold Coast Titan and remain there and be a one club man and helping them get to potentially where they can get to in the next 2, 3, 4 years would be a major thing on his career. I hope he stays there and really just buys in and owns that centre position, because I said it at the start of the year when we were talking about, I think he looks great in the centres. Now, he might not be that free roaming fullback where he has the ability to sort of go where he wants, but they're getting the ball to him because they see the value in him on that edge of the field, and he's getting good ball and he's showcasing his skills. So that's my input on it. I'd really like and hope that he stays there and gets that club back up into finals footy.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think that their outside back depth has been tested this year. They've got a couple of young guys that have had opportunities throughout the season as well. Guys like Alan Fitzgibbon, young Jensen there on the wing, who I think's actually been pretty solid, big body, pretty destructive. Reminds me a little bit of Jarrell Skelton, just hasn't put the pieces yet together, just that big body on the wing that can be a bit damaging. I think he just needs to sort of realise, how big he is and what he can do. And then, Phil Sami, mate, like, it's going to be such a shame that he's leaving the Titans, but obviously going to your Dragons, which I'm sure you'd be very happy about with the form that he's in.
Yep.
But he's like borderline getting picked for Queensland at the moment. Like, his form the last 2 seasons has been ridiculous and it hasn't been spoken about.
Yeah, no, he's going really well. It's no wonders that the Dragons went out and put a contract in front of him and obviously have him for the club next year. And hopefully for the 3 years he's there, he just continues to get better and better because he has been really, really good.
Mate, talk to me about Walshy. Obviously a decent. I thought he played really well in this game, despite the result. 28 runs, 254 run meters, 109 kick return meters. He had 73 post contact, 10 tackle busts. He played a really tough game, really safe under the high ball. And the big thing for me as well, 0 errors. So he definitely wasn't, obviously, when Walsh sort of takes an onus on a game, he can take a lot of risks, and what comes with that is a couple of errors. But it was probably the safest game that he had played, which might actually be a knock, because if you probably needed him to take a couple of risks and try and put some more points on the board. What was your assessment on Walsh?
I thought he was great. He's mate. All he can do is wrong with the media at the moment. I'm glad he stood up for himself when he got asked that stupid question the other day. I hope they keep prodding him, because it's only going to bring the best out of him. It seems that he has this personality where if you back him, it's sort of like, yeah, I know I can do this stuff. But when you start probably pointing at him and prodding him a little bit, that's when you get the best out of him. So I hope he shoves it right in the media's faces and begins to just get into that form where he can start walking around on the field with that little bit of smile and swagger that he has when he is playing really well in Brisbane, start winning games. I don't think Reece Walsh is the problem. Like, I think there's a lot of guys that are lacking at the moment in their own individual play. And I think as a collective, Payne Haas said it 2 weeks ago, where blokes need to start fronting up and stop talking. So if your main guy is saying that, that's the writing on the wall, in my opinion, because they're still a massive threat. They've got all the pieces to the puzzle to go back to back. It just pretty much comes down if they want to be known as a back to back team.
Yeah, 100%. I think it sort of threw everything out for the Broncos. I almost think it might have lost them the game, starting Duffy and having Mam. And it's not because of Duffy. It's not because of Duffy at all. Duffy's a halfback for me. They threw him into 5'8", on the opposite side of the field to where he's used to playing, and threw the combos out the cot as well. You obviously work so hard throughout a preseason building combinations and stuff like that. And Mam's played in this side for a very long time. I think that bringing Duffy in this sort of game, Titans are a very dangerous attacking team. Threw off the combinations, forced a couple of errors, and unfortunately the Titans get up. I think if Ezra Mam starts this game and, Madge just backs him, I think they probably go on to win this one.
Yeah, it's a tough one, mate, because Madge is obviously trying to shake the jar a little bit to get a reaction. I actually think he got a reaction out of Mam when Mam got on the field. It appeared, though, he'd probably tried to be a little too creative at times. Example, that last kick at the end, I reckon if they shifted the ball right, they probably score. But you want Mam to have that ability to back himself in those situations also. So it's a two-edged sword. You can't write Brisbane off yet, though. And that's what I want to reiterate. They still have all the pieces to the puzzle there. It's just if they can get out of that sort of clunkiness, get out the back end of this origin period and really hit the ground running.
I think I heard Jimmy Graham say this, and I sort of tend to agree. I think if you are going to make the call to make a statement and drop Mam for a game or so, just to send a message to the rest of the group, actually drop him.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a good point. Because don't put him on the bench, put him out of the team.
Yeah, get him out and get him playing reserve grade, and that's going to be the message that you send. And for a guy like Tom Duffy as well, what confidence are you giving Tom Duffy where you're sacking him after the last 20 minutes of the game for Mam to come on and try and break the game open?
And I thought he get a head knock in the first half, and Mam actually got on the field.
So had a head knock. Mam comes on.
And then he put him on.
And Mam gets taken. Mam had the shits when he came. Did you see Mam when he came on?
Yeah. As you would, mate, because he actually said it a lot when he was out there.
They scored their 2 tries when he was on the field.
Yeah.
Duffy comes back on, and then the last 20 minutes they take Duffy off, and obviously put Mam back on the field. But that's not sending a great message to Duffy.
Nah, it's very confusing. It's but they should have just left Mam out there. Yeah. Looking at the game, and I think Mam had done enough to warrant him remaining on the field. But then also see how that could have affected the young fella not going back on due to that too.
What's Duffy probably thinking this week? Oh, I better play well and put some points on, or otherwise I'm getting dropped mid-game.
And that's rugby league, dude. It's pretty much that's the art of it is to become so used to being let down as you go through your career that when things don't go your way, you just sort of have the ability to swim through it. I know that from experience, probably didn't handle it the best at most of the times. But the biggest thing I started to learn was if you're if you have the ability to understand that you're going to get let down weekly or daily sometimes, depending on your role within the team and the club, you'll be able to swim through the shit a little bit better and build yourself up for the week after.
For me, I'd sort of like, I'd be wanting to put as much confidence into Duffy as possible because he's going to be the halfback next year, right? He's going to be the number 7 at this stage for 2027. So why not, if you're going to back him in and put him in the 6 jersey over Ezra Mam and make that statement in general, as I said before, drop Mam, put him in reserve grade, send the message you want to send, and give Duffy 3 weeks just to sort of prove himself. You've got Ben Hunt on the bench anyway. So if Duffy doesn't play well mid-game and you want to make that call, you've got Ben Hunt there to sort of do that. Like, bring Mam out of the team, make the statement, have Duffy there. If it doesn't work, you bring Mam straight back in. But yeah, if this is the way that you're going to go about it fully.
It's almost like a little bit of a coaching error. Would you agree? Like when you look at it and you're able to dissect it a little bit, Madge maybe have got it wrong by taking Man off, and that's probably started a bit of a snowball effect moving into the next week.
I've got 0 coaching experience. I've got 0 being as a player and experience in a squad. It just feels like a major, like Madge has come into this one. I know Madge is very old school and he's very set in his ways and quite strict on certain things. And, there's obviously been all the things about training too hard, all that sort of stuff, right? It seems like Madge has gotten in his own way here. If he wanted to do something, like he had the opportunity to do it right the first time and put Duffy in and drop Mam and send the message. Instead, he's almost trying to cover his ass by having Mam on the bench there in case it goes wrong, and so he can make the switch mid-game, and it doesn't give a lot of confidence to Duffy. And it's a weird sort of environment at the moment at the Brisbane Broncos. It feels like it's going to send a weird message to the rest of the team, especially if we go into this weekend's game. The Broncos go up against the Bunnies. If Duffy plays poorly or doesn't do what Madge is looking for in the first 20 minutes, and he gets hooked,
that'll destroy his confidence. That action will 100%.
Let's talk about this game very briefly. The Panthers absolutely shellacking the West Indies, 12 tries to zip.
Not a good game of footy to watch.
Yeah, it was
very hard, mate. Like watching them get dismantled like that, but just some of the effort areas and what sort of transpired, it wasn't a good game of footy to watch. Poor bastards.
Yeah, it was a tough one, mate. Cleary's a freak.
Mate, it was like watching someone get dismantled playing chess. It was like just everything come off for them.
Yeah,
they're just humming at the moment. Penrith G's are a well-oiled machine.
87% completions and 64% of the ball.
That's a joke. Yep. Such a good game of footy, and I had that as being a tight game. Like I thought, just as a laugh, my super coach, I thought, Cleary might take him off as captain this week, give it to Osako because Cleary's going to have a bit of a tough game against the West Tigers. I was sitting there watching their game going, that's a good move by me. Fucking hell.
I captained Cleary this week.
Yeah, you would have got about 5 million points. Yeah. Everyone did except Jake. Yeah, good on you.
Just the way that he was moving throughout this game, some of the tries that he set up, it was a joke. It just goes to show how far ahead Penrith are compared to the rest of the competition, really.
They're just in sync, mate. They're just in sync.
Let's leave it there, I guess.
Yeah.
Not too much to talk about for the Tigers. Sharkies and Dragons.
They were in it.
Mate, first half, the Dragons... Literally, I'd had the Dragons winning the game after the first half. They were outstanding. And then I don't know what happened in that second half. I'm sure you'll be able to walk me through it. What happened for the Dragons to let this one go?
Mate, I was fist pumping. Cronulla turned it up a gear, and I think we played it. We went backwards a little bit in that second half. I can't knock our effort, because there are blokes turning up, and that's the big thing that I like to watch for. As long as blokes are turning up, I can handle, not the scoreboard not going our way. It's when we throw the queue in. But we didn't help ourselves in the second half by some of the actions and just drop balls. Just things that gave Cronulla cheap possession, and we couldn't defend our errors and our penalties. So it was a good win by Cronulla. I think Cronulla needed it. obviously we needed it also. But I think if you go back and you're doing video this week as Dean Young sitting down with the boys and you watch the first half and say, this is what we need to do moving forward for the rest of our games for at least 60, 70, 80 minutes, and that'll give us some W's towards the end of the year, because we don't want the wooden fucking spoon, mate. We don't want it. So there's going to be I think a really hard fought block coming up for the club in the next 4 to 5 weeks to get a couple W's. We do have a tough run. But as I've always said, anything can happen on the footy field, and I've got a lot of confidence from that first 40 that we're capable of upsetting some teams that are above us.
Talked about the Sharks turning it on in the second half. I thought Addin Blake's presence, his second stint, was outstanding. I thought he had a huge impact. Nikora had his best game this season by a country mile.
Yep.
And then the guys off the bench, Billy Burns through the middle, mate, he's a problem no matter where you play him for this Sharkies side. Talk about Billy Burns.
He's one of those guys that you can just chuck on the field in any position almost, and he's going to give you an 8 or 9 out of 10. He's a Mr. Fix-It for him at the moment. I think he's been chucked in the centres once or twice, obviously in the back row. He can go in the middle and create ruck speed and an offload for you. So he's a valuable asset for them moving forward. And I think if he's not in the starting team, he definitely has a good, solid role coming off the bench for him.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually rate him through the middle too.
Yeah, no, good, mate. Really good.
Yeah, leg speed and just being a bit of an animal there. Footwork, broke the line a couple of times and was a bit destructive.
He is a try scorer too. He almost gets a try every time he gets a crack.
Mate, him and Talakai through the middle would be a problem.
Yeah.
No, he actually went so good, Talakai didn't play. Which is
really?
Yeah.
Oh, he did too. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I mean that goes to show how good they can be through the middle at their best. Especially if both of those guys come on at the same time, that's going to be a headache. Colquhoun is a guy that I love watching every single.
Yeah, you got a big rap on him, don't you?
Yeah, he's a future Origin player. He's a very, very good player. Jesse Colquhoun. Dogs and Eels, probably the hardest game to watch.
Oh,
ever.
I was watching paint dry. Fuck.
Yeah.
That was hard, man.
It was a bad game. It was a real bad game. 14-12, the full-time score. Oh, do we even want to break this game down? Jesus.
I don't think, to be like, the Bulldogs won and that's good. I thought Galvin again competed very hard and was, a good one or two not, uncharacteristic plays where he's trying too hard, a bit of a longer pass that went found the ground and stuff like that. But you can't knock the young fella's effort. I think when we even spoke, I tipped Parramatta actually being in the 8 this year, and they just, obviously Moses out, they've lost some bits and pieces during the year through injury, and they just haven't been able to get a solid team on the field and build momentum. It's been hard for them.
Mate, you think you look bad putting Parra in the 8 at the start of the year? I had him in the top 4. I thought they were going to be way better than what they've been. Yes, injuries have obviously been
hampered them,
Yeah, and
that's why you don't do who's going to be in your top 8 before the preseason starts.
Yeah, why not just grab that bit of content from there? Mate, Leo Thompson's best game. This year, like we've been waiting for that game for him to be the alpha of this forward pack. I thought that him and Matt King, as I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, they bounce off you, 2 forwards bouncing off each other. I feel like we really saw that in this game, especially the first half. The Bulldogs really looked like they were going to run away with it. They just failed to score points.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. They it's a difficult one because Bulldogs are almost like Canberra at the moment. You look at their roster and you go, fuck, that's handy. That's 20 or 30 points, and they've got the ability to defend, against the teams that do have good attacking weapons in their arsenal also. But it's just not clicking for them at the moment. I still think they're hungover from last year and what happened through the club, but it's going to be interesting to see how they go moving forward because they just don't look like they're gelling the way that everyone around them wants them to gel.
I think they've got to pick a team list at this stage. They've had a couple of injuries, but they've just got to pick a team and they've got to stick with it. There can't be any more changes at 9. If it's going to be Kurt Mann, it's going to be Kurt Mann. Let's back him in. If it's going to be fucking Bailey Hayward at 9, even though I don't agree with it,
leave him there.
Leave it. Yep. It could even be Gordon Chen-Kum-Tong, who had a great game in reserve grade over the weekend, albeit he got in a fight and got sent to the bin. But he had a good game. He had a good game on the weekend. Oh, mate, that Bulldogs and Para game, you got to watch it. The New South Wales game, it was good. The Dogs ran away with it, but there was some good little scraps in it. There was plenty of feeling.
It's what you want.
Was better than the first grade game, that's for sure. But they've got guys there that they can bring in as well. They've signed on training trials. Gordon Chen Kumtong for me is one that I'd love to see have a little bit of a crack as an out-and-out 9. It's probably the only out-and-out hooker that they've got in their roster at this stage. So
he was at Manly, wasn't he?
Yep, he was at Manly.
Yeah, he's a good little player, actually.
Yep, they've signed him on a training trial, and I think he goes into the full-time roster next year or the year after.
Okay.
So,
yeah, cool.
Definitely want to watch a little bit older. I actually played for his brother with Southeastern. Well, we won the premiership down there in the 21s.
Yes.
But
that was Mad Monday.
Oh, mate, it was
fun.
It was good. It was good stuff.
They always are.
Parramatta, where'd it go wrong?
It's hard, man. I really thought they were actually going to win. I thought it was a bit of a descent for Volkman. I thought Volkman has been playing absolutely out of his skin. It looked like he just didn't get a platform lane for him to be able to do the job that he wanted to do for him. Ongi coming back, still finding his feet. The last couple of weeks he's been in the team. Doesn't really have that sort of spark that he had before he got injured. Moses coming back into the team, depending how he pulls up after Origin, is going to be massive for them, as we all know. So they could have a strong back into the season, but it just doesn't look too good for Parra at the moment.
Look, it's going to be interesting. I think Junior Paulo has been a huge loss for them through the middle.
Yeah, I agree.
Spiritual leader. Hopefully he's back very, very soon. Let's get into the tips, mate. Round 15 tips brought to you by our good friends at Bearbet. If you're going to have a punt, do it with Bearbet. They've just updated their system as well, so everything is looking nice and fresh. And it's easier for you to get up over the weekend of footy. But make sure if you're going to have a punt, gamble responsibly for free and confidential support. Call 1-800-858-858. Jakey, round 15 tips. Only 5 games of footy throughout the weekend. Kicking off on Thursday with the Bunnies and the Broncos. Bunnies are the favourites, $1.48 to the Broncos, $2.66. Where are we leaning?
I'm just trying to get these team lists. There they are. I'm going the Bronx.
The Bronx? Yeah.
I'm going the Bronx. And the reason why, obviously they've got, I think, the back row at the Rabbitohs is very strong too. Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with the Bronx. I think they've got too much all over the park, especially off the bench. They just look like they've probably got a little bit more than the Rabbits this week.
Mate, I'm keen to see Piakura again this weekend. I would love
what a gun. I like the centre too, Antonio. Freak.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's a mutant, that bloke.
He only just played schoolboys the back end of last year. He's still very fresh.
Who the fuck was tackling him last year?
Yeah. I'm going to go the Bunnies, mate. Hopefully at home we can get up.
You got to.
I've already used my tipping against them card and got up, so I'm going to leave it at that. The Dolphins and the Roosters. The Dolphins are the favourites here, $1.43 to the Roosters, $2.83. Which way we leaning? One.
Ramsey at fullback. I like that.
I jump in first.
You got to go the Dolphins, mate. I think
it's Dolphins plus for me. The Roosters have got.
I think the Dolphins. They'll get the chocolates there.
Dolphins 13 plus. Wars and the Sharkies. The Warriors are the favourites at $1.35 to the Sharkies $3.20.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Warriors there. I think the Sharks having their usual 9-7 now to going to be a bit tougher against the Warriors this week.
Eels and Raiders. The Eels are the underdogs at $2.22 to the Raiders $1.67. We both said they've got the same problem at the moment, just in regards to the way they're playing.
I see a bounce back for Parra.
Yeah.
I think they can ambush Canberra
at the bank. I don't mind it. I'm going to go the Raiders. I'm going to go.
Okay. This is good. We need confrontation, all right? We need it.
Yeah, you got to stop agreeing with me, mate. The Tigers and the Titans. The Tigers 49 to the Titans $2.63.
Tigers, mate. I don't see them not turning up this week. Is the reason why.
I think the Titans get a bit of confidence from beating the Bronx, mate.
Tino's not there.
Tino's not there. That is a big out. Okay. I'm gonna go the Tigers as well. I think
I don't copy.
Yeah, fuck off. All right. Make sure as well, 10% off with the code Momentum at both On Track Meals and Breathies as well. Breathies, channeling that recovery, both your sleep and in training as well. Massive leg up in your training and recovery. And then On Track Meals, speaking of recovery, nutrition's the biggest part to hitting your goals throughout the summer. So use the code Momentum for 10% off for both of those sites. Jakey, pleasure as always, mate. We will see how we go with the tips next week.
Let's see. I'll talk to you.